Good morning, everybody. This is Becky Speer. I'm one of the staff members here at the Naples Preserve. And where is the Naples Preserve? We're in Southwest Florida, and the preserve itself is actually 1 mile from the Gulf of Mexico. As you can see, we're in the middle of a huge development area. We're actually in the city of Naples. So here we have, it's about just a little under 9.5 acres that has been preserved. So what do we do here at the Naples Preserve? Lots of things. We have our nature talks. Of course, this year they're virtual instead of in person. We do summer camps. We monitor and our flora and fauna. We have a lot of research projects going on here with the flora and fauna. And also, we have some really fun events. One is Gopher Tortoise Day. And the other is preserving the holiday spirit. So one of the really cool activities we have at Preserving the Holiday Spirit is we have fruit on hand, and the people that attend can make ornaments, fruit ornaments for a Christmas tree that we have out in the woods. I'll go out at night, hang the ornaments, and then we use our wildlife cameras on the Christmas tree to see what comes to get the ornaments. And then people can come in the next day and view the video. So this year, it was in 2012, we had 2 fox. We had a pair, so that was really exciting. So we wondered, were they going to stick around? Were we going to have kits on the property? But first of all, we had to decide what kind of fox are these? Well, there are two species of fox that can be found in Florida. One is the gray fox, which is the native fox. The other is the red fox. There's a little bit of discrepancy about the red fox. Many people say they all came from Europe. They were brought over here for fox hunting. While there are a few others that say, well, you know, we did have red fox here before the Europeans came here, but now they've hybridized with the red fox that were brought from Europe. So, how do you tell them apart? Our gray fox that we have down here, especially here in Florida, can have a very, very reddish coat. So you cannot go on the color of the coat. What you want to focus your attention on is the tail. On the gray fox, you can see it has a black stripe that goes down the top of the tail. And if you look at the very tip of the tail, it's black. Where when you look at our red fox, top of the tail can be a little bit dark, but the tip of the tail is what you want to look at. Notice in the red fox, it is white. So the gray fox has a black tip to its tail. The red fox has a white tip. So I'm going to play some video. And what is this? Is a gray or red fox? This is video here at the preserve. We need to determine, do we have gray or red fox on the property? All right, did you say gray fox? Did you see the black stripe and the black tip on the tail? All right, now let's look at some nighttime video. Is this a gray or a red fox? Ah, gray fox, and it's a pair. So that was really exciting. Our pair is still around. So if you list on a lot of these videos, there is sound with them, but you have to really listen. It's not very loud, so you can hear some of the fox talking. So on some of the videos, you won't hear me saying much. We'll just be listening. So let's learn a little bit about the gray fox. First of all, they're a nocturnal hunter. That means they hunt at night. And there's a clue to that. If you look at the fox's face, look at the eyes, look under the eyes. Do you see how it's light colored? There's that white there. That tells us this is a night hunter, a night animal. The white helps reflect light into the eye. If it was a diurnal hunter, in other words, a daytime hunter, what color would be under the eyes? Think about a cheetah. A cheetah is a daytime hunter. Black. We have black under the eyes. Look at the sports teams. Don't put black under the eyes to reflect light away. So they're pretty much omnivores. They eat a little bit of everything. Litter size can be 1 to 7, and the weight 3 ounces when they're born, so they are very tiny. Height at the shoulder 14 to 15 inches. So if you think about it, think about a ruler. Ruler's only 12, but I'm going to show you a video to give you a better idea of the height of the gray fox here at the Naples Preserve. This is on one of our decks. Those are our benches. That is an adult gray fox. So she's going to come around and stand in front of the bench so you can see how small they are. They're more like a size of a domestic cat with long legs and a bushy tail. So on March 23rd, 2013, some woman and her son came off the boardwalk and they saw me and they said, "Hey, guess what? You won't believe what we just saw. We saw a gray fox with 2 kits." So kits are what the young are called. So I said, "Really?" So I knew we had fox. Remember, we had that pair in here. This would be really exciting if they had a litter in here. So I went out and they showed me where they found them. So I thought, I got to take our wildlife cameras and set them up out here. You see, I was worried that maybe we wouldn't have a fox family in the preserve because in January, the male had been hit and killed on US 41 out here. So that is a problem. We have a 6-lane highway right on one of our borders, and a lot of the fox are hit and killed on there. So I went out, I put cameras out, and this is what I got the first night. Oh, she jumped because the camera's in a new place. All right, do you see what I see? Look at here. Yes, this is a female that is nursing. So yes. So I moved the cameras around because I wasn't sure where she was keeping them, and then this is what I got. So this is an open area that is protected. It's surrounded by palmetto and the deck. There they are. Those people were right. They saw 2 kits. So that was pretty exciting. So this is during the same night. So I watched all the video. Our cameras are motion activated. So there we've got the 2 kits. So that was exciting. And they had told me they were about the size of kittens. Uh-oh, look at here. It turned out there were 3 of them. So I was glad I watched all the video. I have found out you have to watch the entire video because sometimes something will show up at the very end. So yes, we had a gray fox family in the Naples Preserve. So what I was able to do is I was able to put one of our wildlife cameras right at the dens. And what she was using as a den is an unused gopher tortoise burrow. So if you know about gopher tortoises, they are a keystone species, which means there are a lot of other animals that are dependent on them. And it's not the tortoise, it's the burrow that it digs. Fox are one that will use it. They will use it as a den. So I was able to go every morning and get the cameras. At first I was a little worried about it. You know, would she move them? Would she move them because she smelled me in the area and I'm putting this camera here? But it turned out it wasn't the case because she was used to my smell and used to the cameras. So she did not see it as a threat. So what she would do is, this is just getting dark, she would come out in that open area and she looks around to see if there's any danger before she brings them out. Now watch her reaction and listen and see if you hear what she heard. Did you hear the kids on the boardwalk? Yes, so if there are any kids watching this, this shows you when you're making a lot of noise, there are probably a lot of animals you're going to miss. So when you're in a wildlife area, a nature area, you want to be very quiet, walk slowly and observe. Just stand in one place and see what you can see. So she didn't bring them out right then because she sensed danger. So when she was going to get them out, what she'd do is she'd go to the burrow. This is the Goldfish tortoise burrow. The white tag you see is the tag number for the burrow, the gopher tortoise burrow. She would go up and she calls them out. And if you listen, you might be able to hear it on this. So it's a little crowded back in there to feed them there. So she takes them out into that open area. So this is March 25th, and they're still pretty little. I tried to find out ages, and I couldn't find anybody at the time that could tell me how old they were. But they're fairly young yet. You can see she's cleaning their bottoms. You know, after we have to get some exercise, we have to jump on mom. Yeah, she puts up with a lot. And what I want you to watch is, watch her. Always watch her. She's always looking for danger. Always watching. You'll see her turn her ears. She started bringing them rats. She had eaten part of that one. And you're going to watch their behavior. One like could care less. Who knows where the other one is? The other one's a little bit interested. So what I found with these is some of them were more advanced in their behaviors than others. So look at, could care less about that rat. So she ran off. She must have heard something. So you see how they were watching her, and they left also. So what she'd do is when they had fed, then they would go to the den to sleep. She would lay outside in that open area to guard the area. And this is what happened one night when she was laying there. This was on March 28th. If you look, there's the date and the time on a lot of these. Now you got to remember, possums don't see very well, but remember how mom was bringing food there and laying it down? The possum probably smelled that and thought there'd be a meal there. She was a good mom. This one evidently got, it looked like a stone. And oh, no, you can't have that, can't have that. Just like your little ones at home, you have to take things away from them and watch they don't have things they shouldn't have. So here, watch how they're playing, but she has to multitask, has to keep an eye on them and watch out for danger. So you'll see her constantly turning head. Look at her ears will turn. They're like big radar dishes. So she'll turn and she's just watching for danger. Even in this case where we have two of the kits fighting, she doesn't go break it up. You know, they're making noise. They're probably going to bring somebody over here, somebody we don't want. Now, in this case, I don't know if she buried something there, but they're learning to dig to look for food. And that's also the spot where she put that rat a few days before. So they're learning to dig. A lot of things they'd find would be underground. There are grubs and there could be, you know, rodents under there. So they do dig. They do eat a lot of insects. She did bring them out in the daytime. It was quiet. So I'm just going to let this play. Shows how beautiful they are. But again, watch. Look at her. Look how she's watching. You're watching these videos too as we're advancing in time. Watch how the looks of these kits change. It is amazing how fast they grew up. So we're going to see about 2 months of video here is what we were able to get. So this is at night because it's in black and white. That's how you can tell. In daylight, the camera films in color. So they stay very, very close to the den. They don't go out. Mom's not there. She could be out hunting, so they stay very close. And then in the daytime, they would sit there too, but they are paying attention because listen and watch what happens. So loud sirens, so they dove into the den for safety. There on there, you can see how light colored it is underneath their eyes. Nighttime hunter. So what Mom would do is she would jump up on the railing for the deck. This was right at a deck. She always kept them very close to the boardwalk, actually, but in a well-covered area. The kits weren't able to get up there. She didn't want them to follow. They weren't old enough yet. So she would jump up on the railing to get up on the deck. And then since they couldn't get up there, they would run back to the den to hide. However, about a week later, they figured out we can get up on the camera, use it like a step, and get up on the boardwalk. And that's what two of them started doing. So what happened is, okay, so she was there. Okay, you guys can't follow me. So she jumped up there and went back down there to try to draw them back to the den. But they're up on the deck and they couldn't figure out how to get down. It's kind of like when you climb a tree, it's easy going up, it's coming down when you look down to figure out how to get down. So this is all a learning process for them, developing their muscles, being able to jump, try to figure things out. So that next night, this is what was on the camera. That's the den where the kits were. Possum went down in there. So you got to remember, I go in the morning, I collect the cameras, I look at the video of what happened the night before. So I'm watching this, so okay, we got the possum going down in there, but then this really worried me. She came back several times and was digging out the burrow. And what really, really worried me was the kits did not show up on any of the video that night. So I was wondering, did the possum do something to them? Did they die? You know, what is going on? I was going to have to wait at least 24 hours to find out. So where are the kits? The cameras were there. Nothing showed up. So I went around and was looking at other gopher tortoise burrows, trying to see if I could see any signs. Maybe she moved them because they had gotten up on that boardwalk. Maybe she moved them to a place where they wouldn't be able to get on the boardwalk. So I looked and I put cameras at several of the burrows. You'd think it'd be easy. Oh yeah, just look at the burrows and see where they're active. Well, the thing is, the burrows they were using would have a lot of leaves in them. It was very hard to even tell that anything was using the burrow. So I put the cameras around. It took a couple days, but I did find she had moved them to a different burrow, and it was at a location close to the boardwalk, but at a height that they would not be able to get up there. And it turned out all three of them were there. So that was a big relief. So what's to eat? So at this location, they're older, so she's bringing them more types of food. So let's see what she brought them to eat. Rats were the big thing. So she'd bring a rat, lay it down, and then one of them would grab it and run with it, and the other ones would chase it, trying to get it away. Now, see how she put in her jaws? I could always tell if she had brought a rat, because she would always do that after she dropped a rat off. See, she dropped a rat. We don't even have to see it. It's there, but see how she's licking her jaws? So what would happen is, if the ones that didn't get the rat, you know, they couldn't catch their brother or sister, they would come back and then they got milk. Rats were not the only thing she brought, though. There were eggs. This looked like a Muscovy duck egg. This is a gopher tortoise egg. To give you a reference for size, that egg is the size of a golf ball. Now, that Muscovy duck egg had me worried because I knew she probably had to go across the street to get one of those, and we certainly didn't want her to get hit. She also brought them trash. She brought little gopher tortoises for them to eat also. So they were playing with this and eating it in front of the camera. Yeah, it's fun to play with a wrapper, huh? So when I went to pick up the camera in the morning, I went scouting around the area to see if I could see what they were eating. That was a Kashi granola bar. And then back in there, I found a non-fat cherry cheesecake yogurt cup that had all the little punctures on it from their teeth. So at least she's feeding them healthy, huh? Non-fat and a Kashi granola bar. So food is food. So then at this area, we could watch them develop needed skills. A lot of people say, oh, look, isn't that cute? They're playing. What they're doing is they're developing skills. They're developing their muscles. They're developing their eye-mouth coordination. With us, we'd say eye-hand coordination. So they find sticks to throw around, rocks, tortoise shells, a little tortoise they'd eat, and they throw that shell around. But these are all developing skills that they're going to need to be able to survive on their own. Stamina, you know, a lot of running, jumping. And then also you will see coming up here, stalking each other. See, we've got throwing things around here. This is a color one when they're a little bit older, has a stick, so you can see a little bit better what they're doing. Doesn't take much to entertain them or us, right? And here they are stalking each other, learning how to hunt. Though fox do a lot of jumping, they'll pounce on something too. So that was good that they were doing the jumping earlier, developing those muscles and strengthen their legs. And then here they are practicing how to kill. And they would drag each other around by the ears a lot, and I was just amazed that their ears didn't become tattered, but they never did. All right, the kits moved and didn't tell Mom. So that first time, she evidently moved them. She knew where they were, but this time, watch. She comes back with something to eat. She's got a rat. And nobody's coming. Watch her tail. She's perturbed. She's upset. Where are they? She did all that work. She caught this rat. Where did they go? They were supposed to stay here. They were supposed to stay at this den. Where have they gone to? Remember before how they would come running when she came over rat? This time they didn't. So what happened? Well, it took me a couple days to find out, but they did move to another burrow. So they evidently did it on their own. She found them. She's watching to see if the coast is clear before she calls them out. You're only going to see two here, but all three of them were still there. There was one, it was a run at the beginning. It kind of stayed on its own. It was a little slower to develop. So by watching the whole video during the night, I would see that all three of them were there. So now that they're bigger and they're exploring while she's gone, what she did is she went and started digging out unused gopher tortoise burrows in the areas where the kits were exploring. That way, if danger came, they could dive into a burrow that was very close. They didn't have to run back to their den where they were staying during the daytime. I was just amazed what a good mother she was and the things she did. So there's that burrow they had moved to. Now look, she's digging again, she's calling, they're not there. So you're probably thinking, well, you know, no big deal. They've moved before. We saw it with the possum, she was digging it out, and here she had moved them. What worried me about this was, when I went to pick up that camera, I could smell something dead down in that burrow. So then I was wondering, you know, was there canine distemper? Because that'll kill them. Did something happen? Did one of them die down in there? So I was really worried. And here again, I would have to wait 24 hours before I could see if I could find them. Well, I did. It turned out they went back to the other burrow. All three are there. And so when I went back and reviewed the video from the other days for that one burrow, I noticed the day before, one of the kits did take something down in that burrow. So evidently it just didn't eat it. It left it down there. And that's what I smelled. But look now, look how she has to stand up to feed them. Look how big they're getting. So they're big enough now. She is letting them up on the boardwalk. It's good for them. They're practicing hunting. They had been trying, actually, at the burrow, they would try to catch the brown anoles that they would see. But she would sit up on the railing there. She can get a vantage point and watch them from wherever they are. So see, when you come to Naples Preserve, look at the things that are on the boardwalk at night. This one, she's doing some more discipline. So I'm not quite sure what was going on there, but I have an idea because of what I saw a couple days later. She started to wean them. She thought, you know, you're big enough now. You don't need any more milk. I'm getting tired. So it was a lot of work for her. She'd come panting after she dropped those rats. She was feeding 3 mouths plus herself. So you're going to see her denying them milk. So that wasn't too bad. That one tried. And look how she's sitting. See how she's blocking herself? So they were even chasing her, trying to catch her to get some milk. See how she's keeping them away? I'm not feeding you anymore. And that one thinks he's going to sneak up there. So behavior started changing. They're getting older. We're going to see this male had gone near this female. I think the litter was 1 male and 2 females. It was pretty hard to tell. And they all look the same. If you notice, black and white, we don't have any color differentials. And that was the one thing with this black and white video. It makes you realize how much you depend on color to identify things. So we were really lucky with these fox that we just looked for a black tip on the tail. It wasn't like we had to look at the color of the coat. So I had seen the male a day or so earlier smelling under his mother's tail. So they do breed way before they're a year old. They breed the same year they were born. So we're starting to see some changes. They're not getting as long as well, which you don't, you know, that's what you want. You don't want them to stick together. You want them to separate and find other fox. So this was the last view of them. It was May 26th, so it had been 2 months. And that was this one was the only one that showed up in the camera that night. The night before, they were all still there. So my guess is that the vixen, the mother, took them off the property because this isn't big enough to sustain 4 fox. And they needed to get out and get their own territory. Took them to another area. And this one was, I don't know if she came back and got it or just left this one here. So I just wanted to show you this so you can see how much they changed over that period of time. When we first saw them, they had more like a puppy, you know, the flat face, short legs, short tail, and then gradually they just growing, got taller, the tail got longer, the muzzle developed more. And by May 17th, they looked just like their mother. They weren't her height yet. They still had a lot of growing to do, but they looked like an adult. And when I had the video on, if she wasn't in it, I had to actually look at what was in the background for me to tell if it was one of the kits or her, because I knew the height of things and how tall, how high she would be standing next to something as opposed to them. So the end. Good family portrait there. I have no idea what they were watching. Or was it? Well, we were hopeful because that we would get a litter next year, that she would go out and find another male and come back. And because she had a successful litter there, she raised them up. There was plenty of food. There were plenty of rats and other things in the preserve. Plus, they will reuse the same dens every year. So we were very hopeful. And then, unfortunately, in November of that same year, I found her dead. She had been hit on US 41 and made it over the fence and then dropped dead. So we wondered, are we going to get more fox? They usually would show up in November. And a way that we knew they were around, because you're in breeding season, the way we would know they were around, even if we didn't have our wildlife cameras out, was the smell. The male, the musk, it smells like a skunk. So I know exactly the areas they were. You go out and you could smell this, it smelled like a skunk, and it was the gray fox. Well, over the years, we had pairs come in again, and then things would happen. One of the things that happened was coyote would come in, go down the boardwalk and leave their scat. So of course the gray fox is not going to stay. That was not a safe place for them to have a family. So they would leave. Or they would get hit on the street. So we went years and years and years. One might filter in. And then this is the last one we had here. This is a male. He actually was here for 2 years. And he left a little over a year ago, which he actually needed to do because there was no female coming in here. He needed to go out and find a girlfriend. So one of the things I kept finding was there was these white socks, and I kept finding them in different places of the preserve, and it was in brushy areas. And I thought, there can't be somebody out here walking around moving them around. So I put a camera there, and here it was our male gray fox. He would come and get the socks and throw them around, roll around with them. I found a work boot out there. You can see it there in the front on the right. I put it out there. He would take that and drag it around and throw it around. So he had his little area there. So this is just a video showing him. See how beautiful he is. This is in our scrub, and that's where they would set up to have the family. So at this point, we don't have any gray fox in here, but hopefully in November, we'll start using our noses and see if we can smell a fox in here, or it smells like a skunk in here. Hopefully we'll get another one in here. So does anybody have any questions?
Just a comment, that was really wonderful. Thank you for all those, all the work that you did to put that together. It's just amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was really disappointed when I found her dead that fall, because I thought, I know where she's going to have them, and we can, because I wanted to try to get video earlier, at an earlier age, which would have been really interesting. But hey, we still got a chance, right? We'll still watch.
I wonder, you know, I mean, what is the minimal size area do you think that they require to live in? Is the preserve Naples Preserve, well, it's a certain size, obviously, but would they live in a smaller area, or do they need more?
I think a lot of it depends on food, the source of food, especially if they've got a young one. So we have a lot of rats in here. I know people hate rats, but they're important. We also have rabbits. There are a lot of insects in here. There's fruit. You know, we have the saw palmetto berries. I'm sure they probably eat those. We have the gopher tortoise nest. They'll dig up the eggs. As a matter of fact, I thought the fox was actually going to help us here in 2018. It was March 3rd. We had the gray fox dug up a gopher tortoise nest. And from what was there, those tortoises were ready to hatch. So I thought, oh, wow, this is going to help us prove there are 2 nesting seasons for gopher tortoises down here. But it didn't. But then this year we did find a hatchling here on May 16th. So we're proving there are 2 of those. But there is a lot of food here. And of course, she went and got trash. So the big problem with our area are the streets. They're small, they're dark, you know, they're running across the road at night. So it's traffic's a big problem. But I do think it's food, and also to raise a litter, are there good places to keep them? And of course, we have a lot of large gopher tortoise burrows. So they have a safe place to put them. So being in the burrow not only protects them from predators, in the winter when it's cold, it's warmer down in there. And in the summer it would be cooler. So I don't know if the adults ever use the burrow, but they do use it to keep their kits in. It's just another reason showing what uses this property and how it was a very good decision for the city of Naples to buy this property.
Oh yeah, priceless.
Yes.
But would they live in a beachy type area? I mean, the foxes.
Yes, they see them at Clam Pass. I know they live there. Yep. So there they would be scavenging, you know, they could be getting dead fish and things like that on the beach. But of course, a lot of development's going on. So gray fox seem to do pretty good being around development, especially if there's all that trash. But but you rarely see them. They are so good at hiding, and they do climb trees. So that's another thing, and that's one way they differ from a red fox. Gray fox, well, they kind of shimmy up a tree, but they're smaller, and the way their feet are and their claws, they're able to climb. So there's more access to food. You know, they can go up a tree and get maybe a bird's nest, or yeah. So they're well adapted for living down here.
And they're protected partly by nighttime, being nocturnal.
Right, and you noticed how aware she was of noises, and to show you how it's hard to see them here. Usually it'd be early in the morning or late in the day, but you had to be very quiet. And one of our volunteers one night, this was a few years ago, was at the mall, and which is across the street, and he heard some kids talking that they were going to come here, and this is at night. So he called to let me know, and then, Becky, I'm on the boardwalk now checking it out, and he goes, oh, I just heard something jump into the brush, jump off the boardwalk. So I had cameras out on the boardwalk. So when I got him out the next day, I had noted the time that he had called me, and I looked at the camera, and you know what it was? It was a gray fox, was on the boardwalk and heard him coming and jumped off. So it's extremely hard to see them, but it is possible when they're here. And those kits, the one spot especially where she moved him to the second time where they couldn't get on the boardwalk, that gopher tortoise burrow was visible from the boardwalk. And if you knew where to look, you could see them back there rolling around. They're quiet. You know, they don't make much noise. They don't want to draw attention. Rolling around back in there. But of course, I didn't let anybody know the location of the burrows because Mom was used to my smell and me being there. But if somebody else would, you know, one person could have gone down and ruined it for everybody. Could have moved them. She could have moved them out of the preserve. And I wanted to be able to keep getting video. So when it happens, when they're here, we just don't let anybody know where they are. I'd like people to enjoy, but you know, you have that one person that could ruin it for everybody. So.
Well, thank you again. It was
Hopefully another year we'll have new video. Let's see what this winter brings coming up. Right? We have a lot of things to look forward to. Thanks, Michael.
Be well.
Is anybody else, or should I wind this up? Made it longer, but I didn't know if people would get bored watching video, because I would have the card on the 2 gigabytes often would run out because they were doing so many things. And then a lot of the video wasn't the best, and even some you saw wasn't, because they were too close to the light. It's an infrared light that comes on so that it doesn't blind them. You know, that's like if you go out at night, you should use a red flashlight. It doesn't blind the animals. It doesn't blind people either. And your eyes adjust better to the darkness if you're out there using a red light instead of a white light. So sometimes some of the cameras you could kind of tone down the how much light it threw, but sometimes they were just too close to the camera, so it'd be all whited out. And that would have been some of the best videos, some of the things they were doing. But you take what you get, right? Thanks, everybody, and have a great spring, and hopefully next year we'll be able to have these in person.